Hi, welcome to the Sales Strategies for Christian Coaches podcast. I'm Justin Janowski, your host, and I'm also the founder of Faith2Influence. I started my business in December of 2018, and I remember feeling nervous at the beginning. I remember tossing and turning at night, wondering whether or not I could make it and provide for my family. God provided beyond what I could have imagined. I collected over $250,000 in revenue my first year, and I've been helping Christian coaches ever since build and design their ideal businesses so that they could fulfill the calling that God put on their lives. What I know most Christian coaches struggle with is sales, money mindset. They struggle with the business side of building a business, designing their offers, pricing, and sales strategies that are high integrity, but also high converting. This is what we focus on in this podcast. And today I want to talk to you about who, what, and why. To me, these are the three most important foundational questions that you can answer to have a successful coaching business. The who deals in who you want to work with. It's about your ideal audience or your target audience. I remember when I was at Mutual of Omaha years ago, there was a training that we went through that talked about becoming known in the marketplace. And to become known in the marketplace, we have to be very specific and clear in who we work with. And narrowing our niche to a specific group of people makes it significantly easier for us to become known than being really broad and really general. Now, many people I know struggle with narrowing their niche, and it's actually because they have a really big heart. And they say, well, I don't want to exclude anyone. I want to help everyone. Or what if these people over here want to work with me? But the truth is, we're going to be able to speak an ideal language and solve a very specific set of problems. And we're going to be attractive in the marketplace to our ideal clients because of the narrowing of our niche that has our ideal clients saying to themselves, wow, this was made for me. This is specific to me and my needs. This is speaking my language. And it allows us to become really known to that specific niche. For us, we work with Christian coaches at Faith2Influence. And the truth is, our most common niche is a newer Christian coach between $0 and $100,000 in annual revenue. Now, we work with some high-level coaches as well who've had success and are running multiple six-figure businesses. We've had clients running seven-figure businesses hire us to do sales consulting for them. But my most ideal niche is the newer Christian coach between 0 and 100K. That's who I speak to over and over and over with the kinds of problems I'm trying to solve and the information I'm sharing in my podcast, through my challenge, in all the things that we do. And because I know specifically who I'm speaking to, and I speak in that person's language, I solve that specific person's problems, and it's easy for that specific ideal client to want to work with me. This is critically important. There are many people who think I should just be working with coaches in general or just teaching sales in general to the marketplace and not giving specific sales advice to coaches or specifically Christian coaches. Now, here's why that's a problem. If I wanted to teach sales to everyone, not that I wouldn't help, by the way, we've been hired to do sales for big companies that do backyard remodels. I've been hired to teach sales to financial advisors. I've been hired to teach sales to a number of different industries and solve a number of different problems that are unique to those industries. But I'm not going to speak to them in my marketing. People will still find me because I'm known for sales. If somebody wants help with sales, but it doesn't fit in my niche, they will ask me. They'll say, hey, can you help with this? Or they'll introduce me to someone who has a very specific problem that's outside of my normal niche. That's okay. I'm happy to work with those people. One of our private coaching clients this year, Kristen Jackson, is one of the founders of FreeSpoke. They're an online search engine like Google that is specifically like unbiased. They protect your information. They make it really difficult for people to accidentally stumble on porn on the internet. Like for kids, it's like safer. It's a really exceptional search engine. That is outside the market of a Christian coach. And yet they hired me and she came out to Milwaukee for a private coaching day where we could work on her business model, her pricing, her sales strategy. We could talk about their messaging, their marketing efforts. We could make sure that everything was aligned so that they could grow. And that was really fun for me. However, if I wanted to speak to every person, I couldn't speak specifically. When you hear me on my podcast or in our sales training, in our sales school for coaches that we run every single week, the examples that I give are specific to coaches. And so the coaches who are following me, the Christian coaches specifically, are going to be like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. That fits for me. That's my language. I resonate with that. It's going to be easy for them to trust me and want to work with me because I'm speaking their language. I'm giving their examples. I'm solving their specific acute problems. And it's allowing me to become famous to that specific target audience. Once again, that doesn't mean I won't work with anyone else. I do get people outside of that target audience that I work with all the time who I love working with because I'm known for solving sales problems. But in my examples, in my marketing, on my website, it's all going to speak to my specific niche. And that actually helps me get more clients, not less. You need this for yourself too. Ask yourself the question of who specifically you want to serve. Who would you be most excited to work with? What's your most ideal client look and sound like? And start speaking to that person in your messaging, your marketing, your sales efforts. The second question is what? What do you do for that person? And oftentimes what we do should be solving a pervasive problem that audience, our audience, has. Or maybe it's one or two or three problems. What are one or two or three pervasive problems that your audience is facing? Pervasive means they're intense, they're clear, they're painful. They know what the problem is. And there can almost be a trigger when you talk about it because I need to solve that problem. I know for my audience, my newer Christian coach who's trying to launch and grow their business, they're probably struggling with sales. They're probably struggling with designing their offer and pricing it and money in general, money mindset around being an entrepreneur. And they might be struggling with how to share their message, right? And how to market. So if I speak to these specific problems over and over again in our podcast and in the work that I do, then I'm going to attract my ideal clients who want to solve those problems. That's important. Now, do I help clients with other things? Absolutely. We could probably make a list of 50 things or 100 things that we help people with. In fact, you could probably just scroll through the different podcast episodes that we've had and find 50 or 100 different things that we've talked about. Like, wow, you solve all those things. But I can't mention all of that in a simple mission statement that tells people what I do. So I focus on the one or two or three things that I'm going to help people with. And that is going to draw in my ideal client. Once I'm actually working with them, I can solve 100 other problems, but I need to attract them with the languaging of the problem that they know they must solve and that they're willing to pay to solve. The intersection of what I do should be at what I'm great at, what I love to do, and what my audience needs and is willing to pay for, aka the pervasive problem they're facing. You need to clarify this so you can speak directly to solving that problem and therefore attract your ideal client. The third thing then is, why does it matter? If we solve that problem for that person, what's the end outcome? So for me, I know that if I help Christian coaches sell more, the end outcome is they scale their income and they scale their impact. That's what my client really wants. They want to earn more money and they want to fulfill the calling God's put on their lives with a greater impact. And so if the work that I do solving this problem, and this problem can lead to more income and more impact, that's why I'm going to get hired. That's why my ideal client is motivated to act upon solving this problem because they know what's at stake. This is what you want to figure out. When you put these pieces together, it's a simple mission statement. I help blank do blank so that blank. I help blank, do blank, so that blank. This should be clear. It should be obvious. People should hear this and know immediately whether or not it's for them. They should hear your mission statement and know immediately whether or not they should refer you to one of their friends who needs your help because it's clear, because it's specific, because it's succinct, because it speaks to a specific kind of person and a very acute problem that you're going to solve for that person. If your mission statement isn't there yet, work on this. This to me is really important. You've probably heard this from me before in this podcast and other trainings that you've been in with us. But to me, this is the foundation of the work that we do. Because if we get really clear on the who, the what, and the why, then that should be reflected in everything that we do. My mission statement should be exactly what you get from me on my website. It should be really clear when you show up to my website, who I work with, what problem I solve, and why it matters. It should be really clear on my podcast, who I work with, what problem I solve, and why it matters. My podcast is called Sales Strategies for Christian Coaches. It speaks in the title directly to my mission statement. My Facebook group that's free is called Sales Training for Christian Coaches, speaks specifically to the person that I work with and the problem I solve. My program is called Sales School for Coaches. That's one of my signature programs. I've also got the Christian Coaches Academy. So these things all fit into my mission statement. They all tell the same story. If you listen to my podcast or you watch our reels or YouTube videos, things like that on social media, they should all tell the same story. So should the profiles I have on social media. If I write a book, it should be for that audience solving that problem. It should all fit together. Now, listen, life's not perfect, and maybe you've got other pieces and things, and you've tried, and you've done this, and you've done that, and maybe it's not all clear and succinct. But if and when you find a true mission statement that speaks to the heart of what God's calling you to and what you want your work to be about, and you start to make that and express that in the marketplace over and over again, eventually you'll become known for that. I'm known for sales. I'm known for high integrity sales. I'm known for high integrity sales for Christian entrepreneurs and specifically high integrity sales for Christian coaches. I'm known at those different levels. So people will come to me for a sales problem. They'll come to me for and they may or may not be Christian, right? We still solve those problems because at the like simplest level, I'm probably known for that word sales. But specifically, people who are going to come to me are the ones who want high integrity sales support, honest practices around sales. And even more specifically, when they're Christian, we're going to align even more. And they're going to be even more attracted to this because they're going to know that I'm running my content through the lens of Christian faith. And if they're a coach, they're like, wow, he built a coaching business. He works specifically with Christian coaches. He can probably help me with the sales thing I'm struggling with. You can see how this is so valuable. So these are my challenges to you. Number one, make sure that you have an ideal mission statement. Number two, make sure that you're expressing that mission statement in the different forms of messaging that you have, whether it's social media or a website or a podcast or your writing or whatever it is for you. Make sure that that is at the forefront. It could just be like if you're just networking and having sales calls, you don't need to have a social presence or an online presence to be a successful coach. If you're just networking and inviting people to a sales call and getting referrals, make sure that your mission statement is reflected in your pre-frame and in the closing of the sales call. If you want to learn how to do this well and you're struggling with this, we'd love to help you. You can go to www.salesisgood.com and you can take our 4-day challenge for $7, where we help you design your mission statement. We help you design your signature offer and price it so you know what you're selling. And we teach you how to open a sales call. That's salesisgood.com. It's only $7. We'd love for you to join that challenge. For those of you who've already put together the mission statement, you already know what your mission is in your business. The important next step is to make sure that it's reflected in the different places you're doing business and that you come back to that again and again and again and use it as a measuring stick against the work that you're doing, because it should be clear and it should be focused. This is going to help you have more success. And it's going to make business simpler and easier for you also. You don't need 100 pieces of content. You need to play the hits. I was having a great conversation with our mastermind recently and talking to a few of our clients. And the idea was that if you just had 3 or 4 1-hour pieces of content, and you don't need that right away, by the way, you don't even need that much. But if you had 3 or 4 things that your ideal audience needed that you could talk about for an hour, you have enough content for a lifetime, because there's so many different angles you can take to approach those 3 or 4 things. There's so many different offshoots of that. There's so many different ways you can talk about how to do what you're telling them to do in these different ways. There's so many different examples. There's so many different scenarios. It's endless how much you could do with 3 or 4 pieces of content. So you don't need to feel like you have to be saying something new online every single day. Play the hits like a great radio station. People need to hear the same thing 7 or 8 times before it sinks in. They should be so clear on what you do because they've heard it again and again that there's no question about who they should refer when that situation comes up in their network or when they need help, who they should reach out to. I've got clients I've been working with for 4, 5, 6 years who I've been teaching the same thing to over and over and over in different ways. And they're still coming back for more because we need the basics and the foundations, and we need to work towards mastery. Repetition is required for mastery. Let's figure out who, what, and why, and let's act upon that again and again, day after day, week after week, month after month as we build our businesses. God bless you all. I'll talk to you more soon.